Charlestown Chiefs, brought to you by Sheehan's Rustproofing. The Chiefs have just come out on the ice for a warm-up period. They're about to try for their 5th consecutive win. They're getting a good round of applause from their own booster club, who have traveled all the way from Charlestown to be here in Peterborough tonight.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home, make your next move a power play with Mike Burgoyne of Real Brokerage Realty. First responders, veterans, doctors, nurses, teachers, and yes, Let's Go Blues Radio listeners get special rates. Visit strikewithmike.com or email him at mike@strikewithmike.com and score big today.
Have you subscribed to the LGB Minute podcast yet? It's a 5-minute weekly St. Louis Blues podcast hosted by Jeff Ponder that is released multiple times a week to fill the gap between Let's Go Blues Radio episodes. Subscribe today.
So awesome, so handsome, so smart, you'll agree. Kurt, Jeff, and Bill are on TV. It's radio on TV. Oh yeah, it's radio on TV.
From St. Louis, I am Jeff Ponder, and I'm joined by the guy who loves the Blues a lot, Justin Scott. I do love the alliteration. Sorry, folks. We'll get to Justin in a minute. Kurt Price and Bill Day are currently facing allegations for tonight's episode. We're bringing you the often imitated, never duplicated. I mean, what's not to like? Custard? Good. Jam? Good. Meat? Good. The original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. This is the 9th episode of season 15 and the 537th episode all time. It's Monday, November 24th, and we're coming to you live. Tonight, we discuss the Blues and Rangers contest that took place a little earlier, as well as the Blues making some transactions and completely removing a player from their roster and some other recent games involving the boys in blue. All that and more on this thankful episode of Let's Go Blues Radio. So as I said at the open, we have got a special guest, a fellow Blues podcaster, Mr. Justin Scott joins the show from the Blue Note Fan Report. Blue Note Fan Report. Let me say that again. Justin, thank you very much for joining the show tonight.
Appreciate you having me on, Jeff. I know that me and you have talked about this. I was excited to finally get on because I've kind of hounded you for this for a while. You're like, God, I on, so you stop bothering me.
No, of course. I love it. And I love that you landed on with Guy Bensing over there at the Blue Note Fan Report. How many shows have you done with him now? At ballpark, I don't need an exact number.
I would say probably about 4 or 5 months worth now.
Okay.
We had our live shows that we did when Guy was down here from Hawaii, for his trip. So yeah, we've had a good chunk of shows. I think our chemistry has gotten even better over time. But
yeah, no, and I'll tell you. So the reason I asked is I wanted to ask you, and sorry to put you on the spot and ask this question: when you do shows, do you still have the nerves before shows start?
Not really. I feel like I'm kind of an introvert in a way, but I feel like when I talk Blues hockey, I feel like I'm very extrovert, kind of way, probably like in an way for most people, like, oh, this Justin guy, he has so many just outlandish takes, like he's so positive about it. And when I talk about Blues hockey, it feels like I don't get the nerves, just because I love doing this.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I'll say, so the reason I ask is, obviously doing this now 15 years, there are like zero nerves for me now. But like, I remember my first, 30 episodes, 40 episodes. It was like every time I'd like sit there and I'd kind of like do this. I'd like wave my hands and like, okay, here we go, get ready. And it's just like, now it's like, I could literally be talking to someone and be like, hang on, I'm about to go live. I'll talk to you later, okay? And it's like, boom, I go live. And it's just, the nerves are just gone. So the more shows you go, it's funny to see how like, kind of your growth as a podcaster, how quickly you kind of forget about those nerves you had early on.
It's definitely you get controversial takes. There's people that won't agree with you. There's people that will agree with you. but it's just kind of how you handle it in, certain situations. I feel like I've kind of grown, not mastered. Obviously, I haven't done it as long as you or Guy or Kurt and Bill, but I'm getting there. I'm learning. What makes me better individually, like how I can project my voice. To get my point across, more firm, but not aggressive, but more assertive. And just the typical podcast kind of tropes that you're wanting.
Yep. Yeah, I hear you. So we got Big Beaver over there in the YouTube chat. I'll be reading his comments through the night, but Big Beaver, stay tuned for beer of the episode. You are going to love my selection tonight. I know that for a fact. But I wanted to ask you real quick too, Justin. You're kind of a young fella. At the open, I made the comments about custard good, jam good, meat good. Do you know where that's from?
I do not. Um, probably when you tell me, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, I should know that." But
That is
no,
so the show Friends, which I'm sure you've at least seen clips of, um, they were kind of big on having Thanksgiving episodes, a bunch of friends getting together for Thanksgiving. It was kind of their thing. And so there's an episode where Rachel was Jennifer Aniston's character. To the pages, she wanted to cook. She was not a cook, and she wanted to cook Thanksgiving a parfait. She ended up sticking 2 pages together. So she ended up making a meat parfait and like some kind of custard dish. And so it was all like one was custard, like one layer was custard, one was meat, one was something else. And the only one who liked it was Joey because he was the pig of the group. So he was like eating the hell out of it. So yeah, I just thought that's a perfect one for our Thanksgiving episode. And then I thought Justin's going to be on though. He's probably not going to get that, but now you know.
I'm very familiar with Friends. I like you said, I've seen clips of it. I've seen things here and there. But yeah, as for like a full watch, no, I'm not very.
That's all right. You don't need to be. You're young. What shows do you like, Justin?
Uh let's see. I'm my humor is a little dark, so I was always a big Family Guy. South Park. Just the real dark stuff. My favorite show is The Walking Dead.
Nice.
Though that was my all-time favorite. But um, I'm a little weird taste. I like watching new stuff, but I generally let other people watch the new stuff, and then if I hear good things about it, then I'll go and kind of watch it. But there's not really many shows that I'll go out and watch like new. Like I mostly watch the stuff that I grew up with.
Yep. Yeah. I hear it. Walking Dead was a great show. I feel like I feel like it went on a little too long, but yeah, I think Negan was an incredible villain, one of the best, and I get the whole story arc with Negan, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, I kind of wish he just would have died a villain, because he was such a good villain.
He was definitely a great villain. I think. Well, and I don't know. I actually posted uh, I have a Negan replica.
Oh, the bat,
So
nice.
in one of my favorite characters. I don't mind the take of having him die a villain. He was a great villain. But I don't mind the redemption arc kind of created the whole like, oh, well, whose side are you on, Maggie or Negan kind of thing. So and most people took the Negan side because people were not liking the Maggie character, but it created some interesting television. I will say.
Yes, it definitely did. All right. Well, let's talk about a couple things here at the top. Again, we got Justin Scott from the Blue Note Fan Report joining us. But first of all, Justin, something happened here in St. Louis that I think is important, but I know that it's our little small corner of St. Louis. We did have the Stanley Ponder Cup Memorial Tournament this past weekend, and I will say, as you can see, this beautiful trophy behind me here. I was the victor. My team won, the blue team. So very awesome to be able to captain my team to victory. And I will say, Justin, I've scored some pretty fun goals as a beer league member in my adult life. This one is up there. It might be number 2 to my shootout winner in another tournament, but I've actually got a clip that I'm going to play. I did score a goal, so at this point we had won the first 3 games, and For those of you that are watching that were part of the tournament, you're probably laughing. Oh, of course, he's going to play the clip of his goal. We'd won the first 3 games. We were playing a team. We were down 5-3 with 11 seconds left. And with 11 seconds left, I had a teammate score, made it 5-4. And then we had a face-off, obviously, at center. And the idea was get the puck down, and I'm just going to crash the net. And that's why people say, crash the net, kids. And that's exactly what I did. And I will say, if we would have tied, that put us in the first seed, which was important because the first 2 seeds, it's 6 teams in the tournament. The first 2 seeds get a bye in the first round of the playoffs. And the first seed gets to play in the first round of the semifinal, the first game. And the second seed, although they get a bye, they would have to go back to back to play in the championship game. So they play a game. If they won, they go right back and play us in the championship game. So the first seed is very important to get. You skip playoffs and you don't have to play a back to back. So in order for that to happen, this had to happen. Here we go. So there you go. Yeah, puck, for those of you on the podcast, we won the face-off. Guy sent it down, hit off the glass. I crashed the net. Puck, I mean, an otherworldly bounce. Puck bounced off the glass right to my stick in front. I tap it in past the goalie. Literally 0.1 seconds left on the clock. The buzzer goes after I score. Not even worthy of a face-off after. We tie the game 5-5, take the first seed. It was incredible. It was so funny because, like, I had so many people say, that's the most excited I've ever seen you. And I even had somebody say, I was with you when the Blues won the cup. You were more excited for this. And I'm like, I'm sure in the moment that's true. But overall, obviously the Blues winning the cup was more important. But it was really, really cool to be able to score such a massive goal in a big game. And, yeah, it was a great day overall. Like I said, we ended up winning the whole thing, but overall, we made a lot of money for charity and just an absolutely fun day. So, Justin, whenever you're like preaching, the Blues need to drive the net, I'll send you that video and you can share it.
I got to say that's very Jake Neighbours-esque of you, right? Driving the blue, sitting at the blue paint, just waiting for the puck.
Yep.
More luck than Jake Neighbours, but
yes. Like I said, I mean, it was crazy. The way the puck bounced off the glass, if you watch the video again, got to post it on my Facebook and my Instagram. It really does. It goes right on my tape, and all I had to do is slide it in. And the poor goalie, he's thinking puck's going to bounce off the glass. It's going to either go behind the net or, he's playing it off the post so it doesn't like hit off him and go directly in. It just ends up going right in front of me, and it was just a ridiculous, fortuitous bounce, and it was awesome. So, and I'll say I'm also, for those of you that are watching it on video, I am wearing one of the jerseys from the tournament. So if you play in this bad boy, you get to wear one of these beautiful jerseys, and you can see right here that we've got our Let's Go Blues Radio patch as well. So a sponsor of the tournament, Let's Go Blues Radio officially. So it was a great day, and it was a lot of fun. And I do have one more thing to share about it, and then I'll shut up about it. We did have a friend of the show, somebody who contributes all the time to our Facebook chat. I was hoping that I would see his name pop up here in the chat, but it has not yet. Our friend Joe Schmo over on that always tunes in on the YouTube chats. Justin, I know you've talked with Joe before. Joe drove in from Columbia and played on Joe Wolf's team. And so it was really cool having Joe show up and play all day. He hadn't played, I think he said, in 20 years or 22 years. And so, yeah, and it was actually against his team I scored that goal. So he was pretty down after that goal was scored. But I said, hey, come with me to the scorer's box. We got to take a picture together. And so he's just like, okay. And I'm like, sorry, but we got to do it at some point. Might as well do it now. So you can kind of see the dichotomy between our faces. I'm all excited because I just scored. He's all pissy, because he just got scored against. So, but it was great having Joe. And again, just a great tournament. Love having people come out for that. And again, having one of the listeners of the show come on and be a contributing factor to the tournament overall was great. So absolutely loved it. And Baked Beaver over in the chat, it was Ponder's first goal. Shut up, Baked Beaver. That is not true. It's my second goal all time. Okay.
Who
So,
would have Jeff
yeah.
goes Pond Man himself? Who would have thought?
Yep. Like you said, I watch a lot of Jake Neighbours tape, so that's what it was. And Baked Beaver also adds, on the real, good job, bud. Awesome cause. Glad you all had fun. Yeah, we don't have totals yet on how much we made, but there's a couple things we have to pay off first. But I will say I know we did very well. So again, just an excellent tournament. 10 years of it now. It's unbelievable. We've been doing it that long. Matthew Carpenter says, as far as TV shows go, you can't beat The Wire, The Sopranos, Deadwood, Ray Donovan, The Shield, or True Detective. I have never seen any of those shows. I'm a horrible person. How about you, Justin?
If I remember the list properly here, I don't think I've seen any of them either. So.
Yeah, I just don't watch a ton of TV. My wife does, and every now and then, kind of like you, she'll be like, hey, this is a great show. You should watch it. And I'm just like, okay. And I'll watch it with her. But like, if she doesn't tell me it's a great show, I don't watch it. So yeah, I'm with you. It's kind of word of mouth for me. All right. Other thing, Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's coming up. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. If you're watching the show here, you can see my other thing I'm wearing tonight is my Turkey Day run for Kirkwood. But yeah, excited. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone, including you, Justin. And we'll have a show next week. But obviously, this is our first show, our only show before Thanksgiving. But they always say, right, that if you're in the playoffs at American Thanksgiving, you will most likely make the playoffs in the NHL. And yet again, this is another season. The Blues are not yet in the playoffs at Thanksgiving time. So we will see if they can pull off another miracle run like they have in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I think it kind of cut out for me there, some of that. But the Blues have definitely started this season very Jekyll and Hyde again. So seems like they very much have struggled finding a group, in the beginning portions of the season. Memory.
Yep. Well, let's move into official beers of the episode. This is number 536. And Justin, you are not expected to drink a beer, but if you are sipping on something, please let us know. You can follow each of us on the Untapped app. I am jponder94. Bill is at Billy Blue Note 33. And yeah, so let's start with you, Justin. Anything you're sipping on tonight, beer or soda or water, anything like that?
I wish it was a nice Jack and Coke, but no, it's not. I'm actually just drinking a squirt. So nothing too incredible special, but very good soda. Very good.
I don't think I've ever actually had a squirt. Is it like lemon lime?
Grapefruit.
Okay, interesting. I might give that a shot.
Caffeine free. So.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I don't ever need more caffeine. I this is how I am all the time. So it's like, yeah, I don't need caffeine.
It's unique. I actually one of my old coworkers actually got me onto it, but it's a nice. It kind of remind you a little bit of Sprite, but I think it's better than Sprite if I'm but yeah, just grapefruit and it just squirts. It's a very weird name for a soda. I will say. Pause.
Yes. Yeah, we won't go into that, but I agree. That is a very strange name for a soda. And all right, so for me, and again, Baked Beaver, I'm glad you're still paying attention. He says he has a PBR 16 ounce for the win. I, sir, am also, can use both hands here. I am also drinking PBR tonight. I've always said it is my favorite of the cheap beers. And I was at the store the other day and they had a 30 pack on sale, which I was like, it's already cheap and it's on sale. Deal. So I got myself a 30 pack the other day. I thought this is a perfect drink before Thanksgiving, nice and light. So we are beer brothers tonight, Mr. Baked Beaver. So you should be the beer beaver tonight. I don't know. You're probably baked too, so that's cool. Justin, I'm going to call an audible here and say, let's go ahead and take a quick commercial break. We're going to talk about Alexandre Texier, the St. Louis Blues, with their game against the New York Rangers tonight, plus a couple other roster moves and other games the Blues have played recently. You are listening to Jeff and Justin on Let's Go Blues Radio. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
What are you doing? Have you not subscribed to the Let's Go Blues Minute yet? Do it wherever you get podcasts. It provides a daily look into the St. Louis Blues, filling the gap between Let's Go Blues radio shows. Go to Spotify, go to Apple Podcasts, go to Friendster. I don't care. Just subscribe and get fresh blues content daily. Do it. Like now.
Every hockey team needs that clutch player who knows when to pass, when to shoot, and when to take charge. In real estate, that superstar is Mike Burgoyne of Real Brokerage Realty. Whether you're buying your first home or selling your current one, Mike skates circles around the competition with his knowledge, hustle, and down-to-earth approach. And here's the real zone ability. If you're a first responder, veteran, doctor, nurse, teacher, or even just a loyal Let's Go Blues radio listener, you'll score special rates when you work with Mike. Got questions? Fire them at him. He'll answer quicker than Bill Day's glove hand. Obstacles in your way? He'll plow through them harder than I would in a goalmouth scramble. And when it comes time to close, he'll put it in the back of the net faster than a Kurt Price shot from the slot. So don't just settle for an ordinary realtor. Get the MVP on your side. Visit strikewithmike.com or email him at mike@strikewithmike.com today. Mike Burgoyne, the real estate teammate you can always count on.
Is your business wanting to advertise but not wanting to break the bank? Are you wanting to target 20 to 60-somethings for your product or service? We can help. The Let's Go Blues radio team is currently accepting new advertisers for our live shows and at our website, letsgoblues.com. Pricing starts at just $10 per month. Go to letsgoblues.com/advertising to learn more.
And now, back to Let's Go Blues Radio, the longest running St. Louis Blues podcast with Price, Ponder, and Day.
Justin Scott has changed locations. How about that?
I have. I had to charge my phone, my man.
All right. Well, let's get into the first bit of news here. The Blues and Alexandre Texier agreed to terminate his contract. Texier then turned around and signed a 1-year, $1 million contract with the Montreal Canadiens. For those that you were not in the know, he was originally put on waivers last week to make for a return of Jake Neighbours. He cleared and was assigned to Springfield. Then the Blues and Texier agreed to terminate his remaining $2.1 million contract this season so he may pursue other NHL opportunities, very similar to the Brandon Saad situation last season, for those of you that remember that. He then turned around basically the very next day and signed with the Montreal Canadiens on Sunday at 1 year, $1 million. Justin, I don't know if you saw any of the news why Montreal wanted to take a flyer on him, but I wanted to read this little excerpt from an article written by Arpon Basu of The Athletic. He said, injuries to Patrick Laine, Alex Newhook, and Kirby Dach have forced the Canadiens to rely on AHL call-ups Jared Davidson, Joshua Waugh, and most recently, Florian Zajac. The addition of Texier will cost one of those call-ups a spot in the lineup, and it remains to be seen if that's a positive or not. The fact the Blues cannot find a spot for him is a bit of a red flag. But there is no doubt the Canadiens have a need for bodies up front with NHL experience. So a little bit of a shot at the Blues, but you can see why someone on the outside looking in might feel that way. But yes, he did sign with the Canadiens because they are literally, riddled with injuries at this point, and they do need NHL talent up here. And I think we can all agree that Texier is definitely NHL talent, but just did not, for whatever reason, did not fit in Jim Montgomery's system, and he agreed to part ways with the St. Louis Blues. What are your thoughts on this move, Justin?
See, I saw well, first of all, we gotta start talking about the Canadians. I think they're the new Detroit Red Wings. We're just gonna have to start calling them the Montreal Canadian Blues.
Yes.
They want all the Blues players now. All the rumors about they want Kyrou and Thomas and such and such. Yeah, good luck with that. Um, this move to me didn't really mean much to me in the grand scheme of things. I thought when Neighbours came back that he would be the odd man out. Texier was going to be the odd man out because, you can't put a guy like Joseph on waivers. I think he would have got claimed, and I think that he's earned his spot here. For the most part, how he's played this season. So Texier was going to be the odd man out, but Texier, he had so much potential when he came in to St. Louis. I was like, oh man, this is a good young guy. He may just needed a better team to play on, and it just never seemed to come to fruition for the St. Louis Blues. In Texier.
I'll tell you real quick, Justin, very quickly. Because we're a live show and this is how we have to run things. You do sound way better in your current location, so I do recommend staying right where you're at. FYI. Yes, and you always look great, but I'm just saying the sound is better.
Raggly beard and everything. It's the not full filled in one.
Yep, I hear you. So yeah, a couple comments coming in. Matthew Carpenter over on Facebook says Texier was to me a classic tweener, too good for the AHL, but not good enough to be a scorer in the show. He wouldn't or couldn't change his game to be more of a checker or grinder. Yeah, we talked about that a couple weeks ago. I think Bill and I that the problem with Texier, and he reminds me again. I know I've said this before of a guy that used to play in the I think it was late '90s, Michel Picard. He was a guy who had elite NHL hands. Some of the best hands I honestly have seen on the Blues in recent memory. And I say recent memory, that was 30 years ago. But, but it was that he didn't have the speed. He didn't have the shot, but man, he could move the puck. And that's kind of where I think Texier lies. He's got top 6 hands. He even has a top 6 shot, but he doesn't have the hockey IQ you need to be a top 6 forward. He also doesn't, to me, have the speed to be that top 6 forward. So for the Blues, it's just a weird spot when you've got all these wingers you want to play. Obviously, you've got guys that are coming up and you got veterans. He just never found a good spot on this team. And I think, like you said, Matthew Joseph is a guy that you really can use on this roster. And, you look at a Texier and you're just like, this guy's expendable. I'll say I liked Texier. I would have liked to have seen him stick around and maybe get, 10, 15 games in a row to see what he could have done. But at the end of the day, he didn't seem to fit into the Montgomery system. So at this point, it's a matter of you've gone through, 3 coaches in 4 years. So you got to stick with your coach and say, this guy's a proven winner. Texier's not carrying the load on this team. So time to cut ties. And, I'll say, I also have respect for a guy like Texier and Brandon Saad to say, I'm betting on myself. Brandon Saad last year could have been like, yeah, send me down to the AHL, whatever. I'm still making my paycheck. I don't care. What was it, $4 million he was making? I'll still make my paycheck. I don't care. No, he was like, no, I'm an NHL player. I'm going to bet that I can get another NHL contract. And it was the same thing with Texier. So I do have respect for that type of mentality that players have, that they are literally betting on themselves to say, I'm going to go out and score another contract and not have to play in the AHL. And I have respect for myself being an NHL player. So I'm all for it. Good for him. And I think it's just I think both sides mutually benefit from this. Texier gets to go on. Plus, he's a francophone. Montreal loves their French-speaking fellas. So he gets to go there, speak French as much as he wants. And and he gets to showcase his skills. Heck, maybe he ends up on a line with Slavkovsky or some other dynamic scorer, and he's putting up 20, 30 assists this season, and then he gets a bigger contract next year. So we'll see what he does. But I do appreciate him taking that next step and saying, I'm going to stay in the NHL, and the Blues saying, yeah, it's not working. It's time to move on.
Hmm. Well, and I think it has to do with I do think that the Blues have a deep roster, and the fact of that the future is gonna be bright. And I think that this also pays to the fact of they don't play the same position. But Dvorsky being up and being looking as NHL ready as he has ever looked, since being called up and playing these games, that also pushes out another spot for Texier. So you're looking at a few guys leapfrogging him. So I mean, then you bring in the Bukestad. You have Bukestad there. Bukestad's been good when he's been in the lineup. I just don't see who he could have outplayed for a roster spot. He would have
Yep.
had to really jump a few guys on that list.
Yep, I agree with that. Let's get to a couple comments here. Our friend, let's see, I'll call you Ace, right? Ace Rob, 9SS, or whatever all those numbers are. Someone please put me out of my hockey misery and aim for the temple. I've suffered enough. Yes, again, being a Blues fan, this is our lives. The cup was nice, but now it's kind of back down to reality. Light Sound Geometry says, when does Army have to face any accountability? Army, Hitchcock, and Ott all need to go to another organization, and GTFO out of St. Louis. D Brown SS comments back, there will be no accountability. It's the old boys club, and Stillman loves those guys. I will say, boys, I think you're being a little harsh. I will say that, yes, Armstrong, I mean, I said this week, and I think I even said it on the show last week, that Pavel Buchnevich's contract could go down as the worst contract Armstrong has ever signed. But at the end of the day, this roster isn't awful. I do think I think they need some touching up. There needs to be some movement that'll help with this roster. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is a rough start to the season. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. It's Armstrong's last year. No matter what, he is moving on from GM, and I think if you fire him now, that just puts Alexander Steen in a really weird spot because he's been his mentor. Yes, I think there needs to be accountability. I agree. I would be fine with an assistant coach change. I'm all for that. But as far as it goes with Armstrong or Montgomery, who's only been here pretty much a calendar year at this point, actually exactly a calendar year today, it's just hard for me to say, let's move on from these guys just because we're at the last rope with Armstrong, and Montgomery still has only been here a year. Like Drew Bannister to me didn't get a fully fair shake. Armstrong even said the only reason he was fired is because Montgomery became available. So, to me, I just think moving on from the coach is a bad idea. And I think at this point, moving on from the GM, let him finish out the season and hope that Steen can right this ship next year.
Yeah, you have this is not a situation where you're going to fire Montgomery. Montgomery's been here for a cup of coffee. There's only a certain amount of times that you can say, "Oh, it's the coach." Okay, let the coach go. That you have the right coach. That Montgomery is the right coach. Um, do I think that he does everything to a T perfectly? No. But Montgomery Montgomery is going to be the guy. He signed he signed his deal. He's only been here for, like Jeff said, a year exactly today. He's not going anywhere. The players are going to have to dig themselves out of this hole that they've got themselves in. This team is way better than what we have seen. And the negativity I've seen, I get it. It's frustrating. I hate to see it too. I hate when the Blues lose too. But the negativity is at an all-time high. When you guys remember that you guys literally were praising this group going into the season. So you're like, oh yeah, this team's gonna be so good. This team's gonna be great. This team's gonna be definitely competing for one of those top 3 spots in the Central. And now everything's going to crap, and you're just ready to give up on everything.
Yep.
21 games into the season. I'm sorry, but you can't be that negative. This team is way better than what they have shown.
Yep. And I'll say, hang on, we've got yeah, and Big Beaver, it says it right here perfectly. It's up to some of these players to show the fuck up. Yeah, I agree with that.
Write it down.
For me, oh, go ahead, Justin. What do you got?
Oh, no, I just was gonna say write it down.
Yeah, yeah, yep, I am. Yeah, and I'm with you. It's at this point, this team. Listen, I read a text from our sponsor and my friend Mike Burgoyne on the Let's Go Blues Minute earlier this week, or I'm sorry, it was last week. About he said that maybe this team's just not as talented as we thought, and maybe they just this team is just missing actual top line talent. I get that sentiment, I really do, but at the same time, this team, even if that is true, this team's better than this record right now. There's some mental blocks going on with this team. Buchnevich, as bad as I've talked about him, he's better than what we've seen. Robert Thomas is better than what we've seen this year. Jordan Kyrou, I mean, go down the list. Every one of these players, with the exception of like a Pius Suter and honestly, even a Justin Falk, who I think has played very well. They're better than what we're seeing. So for me, it's just a matter of, they just got to pull their heads out of their asses. This team is far better than we're seeing. Look at the goaltending earlier this year. Atrocious. Some of the best or the worst goaltending we've seen in a while. And now I think they've leveled out. Now it's time for the rest of the roster to do the same.
Yeah, well, and I think for me, it's going to be an unpopular opinion, but this road trip, I feel like this road trip was huge, especially for the bonding that the Blues could have in this road trip, and they're 1-1-2 now. Um, Honestly, in this road trip, I'm not gonna lie, it's an unpopular opinion. I think the Blues deserved a better fate in a lot of those games. I think that they probably deserve to win. I guess we'll probably tackle some of those games here soon, but
Yeah.
I think that they deserved a better fate. And in the Toronto game especially, I thought the Toronto game was a game that they controlled for most of that, and then the play happens at the end, and then the Toronto ends up scoring. But um, I felt like this was a road trip and a few games recently where the Blues could have won and should have won,
Yep.
probably.
Yep. I agree. And we are seeing good signs from this team. The collapses at the end, yes, that is very troubling. And I get the sentiment because I'm one of them that's like, what is going on? This needs to be corrected. But I think once it does, I think once they string together a couple wins of them, closing out, we got a lead and we're going to close out. If they can figure it out and string a couple games together where they can close games out with the lead, I think that I'm not going to say it's going to completely fix it, but it's going to give him so much more confidence going in late into the game. So whether that's coaching, I don't think it is. I think it's a mental thing. It's mental lapses. It's, oh God, we've got to lead late, and it's like, oh, what are we going to do? Hopefully we don't squander it. The minute you start thinking that, that's when it happens. And so you have to think there's a part of that going on with these players, and that absolutely needs to be corrected.
Mhm.
A couple different comments we'll get to. Divide by Zero, our friend over on YouTube. Ponder, why not bury Buchnevich in the AHL or even the ECHL? I honestly don't see the downside doing it. I don't know how you feel, Justin. I've said that now for a couple weeks. Put the guy on waivers. No one's going to claim him because of his contract. Let him go. You don't even might not even need to do that. Put him in the press box for a game or two. Let the guy sit and kind of realize, like, dude, you need to reset your entire hockey motion. And I don't know why they haven't done it. They did it with Kyrou. They obviously did it with Mailloux, which we're going to talk about. I think Mailloux looked very good tonight. Best game of the season by far. And yeah, I just don't know why they don't do it with the Buchnevich. Do you think, Justin, that would be a possibility down the line?
I mean, I definitely don't think that he would be claimed just because of, the extent of his contract. It's just too much for some team to take on. Like, do I think that a team would be interested in picking up a Buchnevich? Yeah, of course. I mean,
Yes.
like you said, he's better than what he's shown. this year. But I don't think he gets claimed. And yeah, he could go down. I just don't see the Blues doing that. I really don't. I could see them maybe benching him, but I feel like it's something that we should have seen a little earlier. I mean, we seen, like you said, we seen Kyrou. Um, and Kyrou seems to always be the go-to guy. So like when the Blues are struggling to send the message to the team, it's always bench Kyrou.
Yep.
So um, I was kind of scratching my head and wondering why they would not bench Bush, but maybe it's a mature thing. Maybe it's like, oh well, Bush kind of responds, better than Kyrou does, to Montgomery over it. But I don't know. This is just speculation. I was under the assumption that maybe there might be something going on internally in the locker room.
Yep.
We don't know as fans. It's just something that is so perplexing to me that this team is struggling so bad to hold leads and just the mental game. You got to wonder, like, is something going on in the locker room between certain players that are not getting along? Are the coaches, is Montgomery not getting along with a specific player? It kind of makes you wonder in a way.
Yep. I agree with that. Well, we got a couple other comments regarding this, and then we'll get a little bit more into the game itself. The Big Beaver, Montgomery is a phenomenal coach. He has done great things for his previous coaching positions. Ace jumps in on YouTube as well. IMO, it's not coaching, it's players not doing their damn job. I agree with that. And Matthew Carpenter over on Facebook, it's not the coach. It hasn't been the coaches. Any changes need to be player changes and core player changes. I agree with that. I actually love this comment here from the Big Beaver. Being a fan doesn't come with instant gratification. That is true. And that's something I have to preach to my wife because she is, I hope she can't hear me. She is the most fair-weathered fan I've ever met in my life. Like, the Blues start losing games, she's like, I don't want to watch them anymore. And she won't watch them unless they're on like a 4-game winning streak again. And it's the same with the Chiefs. Like when the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl, I'm not watching them next season. They made it to the Super Bowl, babe. Like, what
Yeah.
are you doing? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I know there are plenty of fans like that, but that is definitely the
Oh,
case, Beaver. No instant gratification as a fan.
yeah, there absolutely. I mean, like I said, I don't know your wife like that, so I'm not gonna comment on that. But I know plenty of fans that are fair weather fans, and they'll say, "No, I'm not. I know hockey better than you." Like, no, you're just someone who comes back. What you do is you you're there when the team is on a high and on a great streak, and then when they're losing, oh, they suck. And then when they come back to winning again, then you're like, oh, I knew it all along. So
Yep.
you're like a know-it-all fair weather fan, and those are usually the worst kind of fans.
Yep, agree. All right, well, let's move into talking about this game tonight. And you mentioned. I thought it was funny. I kind of laughed when you said the thing about has Montgomery done everything to a T correctly. The answer to that is no, because I do plan on complaining a little bit about him tonight, but we'll get to that. First of all, the Blues did drop this one 3-2 with a late goal by the Blues to make it close, but unfortunately they could not pull away with the victory. I will say, and I said this about the Toronto game. You mentioned earlier too. I said this last week when we did a post-game show after the Toronto game. I loved the Blues' fight in this game. I they did get the lead, and I know it's a little unfair to say they dropped the lead. I think when it's a one goal, when you score the first goal and you lose the game, to me it's like most teams all season. Well, let's just say all teams all season are not going to win every game that they score the first goal. So, but still, it was blowing a lead, but still, the Rangers played a very good game. They have not played well at home, but they played very well on the road. They're a good hockey team. And yeah, they took it to the Blues, but I thought the Blues battled back good when they went down. I thought especially 2-1, 40 seconds into the first. I'm sorry, into the third. I really liked their fight. They started really pressing offensively. They were Montgomery started rolling the lines a little bit, and we saw some chemistry there. Keeping the puck in at the zone. I want to say it was Cam Fowler had a couple really nice keep-ins late. They just couldn't beat Shesterkin, who, let's face it, they probably didn't put enough shots on him, but at the same time, he's an all-world elite goalie. Made some ridiculous saves he had no business making, and I just thought overall, I liked the Blues game tonight. They just could not get the puck in the net.
Yeah, I think that this one was an unfortunate loss. Yeah, obviously they go up 1-0. Great shot by Holloway. A great play all around. The way I kind of view this game is I thought the first period was kind of an even tilt. I thought honestly from a perspective that may not be as popular to most, I thought the Blues uh, were a better team at getting cycles, getting forecheck going in the first two periods. They were kind of controlling. I thought in the second period, even though the Rangers scored to tie the game up, I thought the Blues controlled that game from a defensive standpoint beautifully. I don't think that you could have played a better second period. Uh, and then you have the unfortunate, Cam Fowler out there for 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and it was unfortunate that they ended up capitalize on it. But that's what good teams do. They capitalize on opportune times. So I thought the Blues played a good road game. It just they came up short.
Yep, I agree, and I'll say Joel Hofer, I thought played very well in this game. He made what was it, 17 saves on 20 shots. I I was a little surprised to not see Binnington get the start in this one after he played so well on Saturday, but my guess is they wanted to get Hofer a game in before the Thanksgiving break, although it's not very long. They come right back on Friday, but I guess their plan is maybe to play Binnington no matter what on Wednesday. So yeah, so Hofer gets to start tonight, and he looked great. And maybe part of it too was the fact that the last time Joel Hofer played at Madison, he had a really good game. That was Montgomery's first game behind the bench last year. So maybe that was part of the thought process too. But overall, I can't complain about the goaltending. I thought he played very well. Made a couple nice sliding saves that I know Bill Day would have said is his save of the week. Yeah, very, very well done tonight by Joel Hofer. And overall, the defense was okay too.
Yeah, Joe Hofer was excellent. The goaltending has kind of leveled out. It was really really bad in the beginning portions, and I tell this to Guy all the time because Guy, I always call him Guy is always the Bennington apologist, and and I get it, but I feel like sometimes with Blues fans it clouds their judgment with the fact that he won us the cup, and it clouds their judgment so he's immune to any criticism. So in the beginning portions, both goalies were not good. It doesn't really matter. I mean, defense could have been better, coverage could have been better, but the fact of the matter is you have both of these goaltenders that are usually making saves that most goaltenders don't make. They weren't making those saves. They weren't even making the easy saves. So, I think both goaltenders struggled, but it's kind of leveled out here in the most recent stretch of games.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, and in terms of shots tonight, I thought Hofer had a very good first period. He made all 9 saves that because I felt New York did come out with some vigor. I thought the Blues did too, but they were pumping shots at net more than the Blues. Outshot the Blues 9-5 in the first, and I just really liked Hofer's game. He kind of played. Sometimes you kind of see him out there, and he just kind of feel and Binnington too. You just kind of feel like, oh, they just look shaky. They don't look like themselves. They're not covering rebounds. They're popping shots right back out into the slot. I didn't get that feeling from Hofer at all. The Blues, I thought, looked a little jumpy at first, the very first, but Hofer was the calming presence. And I again just think he overall played a very good game tonight and kept the Blues in it when they were getting outplayed. And then it even when they went down and the Blues started pressuring more in the Rangers zone. The Rangers would every now and then they'd get one of those breaks, and Bennington would come up huge. You made a couple really big saves on 2-on-1 or 3-on-2 opportunities.
Mhm. It's actually interesting. I'm not sure if we're going to tackle it, but the second goal for the Rangers. What was your thoughts on that one? Do you think that should have been do you think that would have been a challenge or should have been a challenge?
I don't. Was that the deflection, right?
Yeah, it was the deflection because Lafreniere, he jumps up kinda in the air, so it kind of throws it off a little bit. I know it's kinda like a 50-50 thing, but, the way that I viewed it was the way that it happened they scored the goal, and then, like, it felt like immediately they went to the faceoff, and it made me think like, "Oh, I think the NHL and these refs think that this was too close of a call, so, like, they don't wanna have to deal with that."
Yeah, I don't know. I'll say, first of all, I think challenges a lot of times because of the way the system works. I feel like a lot of challenges are the coach saying, "How good is our penalty kill?" Because if I get it wrong, we're going to get a penalty, and I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to have to put my penalty kill out there, and then all of a sudden we're down 3-1 in the first minute of the game or third period. So I do think that's part of it, which is why, if you have an excellent penalty kill, you're probably more willing to be like, just challenge it. We'll kill it off. But I do think, and I watched the replay because I think the first replay they showed on TV was the one that was kind of right at ice level. I did on first look live, I thought that's a high stick. That shouldn't count. And then on the ice level replay, I did see it and I thought he jumped, but I think that was below the bar. And I think if you're even questioning if it was below the bar, because you have to, what do you have, like 15 seconds or whatever it is to actually call the challenge. I think it's a right call from Montgomery. I mean, I think he said a couple games ago, it's like, if it's not a dead set, this needs to be challenged, I'm not going to challenge it. And I think that's the right way to go, especially when you're penalty kill struggling. It's, it's too close to call. This team needs to just battle back, and hopefully they'll find their intestinal fortitude to come back and tie this game. So I think it was a good goal, especially after that replay. Did you feel the same?
Yeah, I felt like it could have went 50-50. I mean, you look at most of the calls this year, but like in God, thank God, Jeff, you didn't have me on for the Utah game one
Oh,
with the because I probably you probably would have had to kick me out because I was not a happy guy. That was just complete ignorance by the league, and I don't know what they're doing when it
with
comes
you.
to interference. I think they're completely lost in the sauce when it comes to goaltender interference.
Oh yeah.
Um, but just in anything, I feel like the league has just man. I mean, these calls have just gotten so bad. They just look so bad. I mean, in this call, I'm not mad about because, like you said, on first glance, you're kind of like, oh yeah, it's a high stick, and then the second glance, you're like, it could have went either way. So I'm kind of with you on the fact of I'm okay with Montgomery not challenging that because you're early in the third period, you still can come back in the game. And I thought that maybe there was a possibility that he could have challenged it just because of how everything was going. I thought the both teams were kind of even for the most part in this game throughout the whole game. So um, I think it was the right call.
Yep, I agree. Third goal that the Rangers scored. This is the one that I want to complain about Montgomery. I thought this was horrendous coaching. And again, not calling for Montgomery's head. I think he's done a fine job. Like many have said before me on this show tonight, in the comments, the team needs to pull themselves out of their own asses. But I do not like his coaching call on the third goal. That was the one Adam Edstrom scored. So the Blues had lost two faceoffs back to back, with the fourth line out there. It was the Sundqvist, Toropchenko, and Walker line. And so Sundqvist takes the draw, two faceoffs right in a row, loses them both cleanly to the Rangers. At that point, because I think the second one, it was covered by Hofer, you have the opportunity to make a change. I'm not even saying you need to take off your fourth line. What I'm saying is you need to maybe pull out Sundqvist or Walker or Toropchenko, pull out one of them and put in probably your best faceoff man right now, which is Braden Shen, or Robert Thomas, who's also very good at faceoffs. You put one of them in just for the draw. Then once you break out of the zone or clear it and you want to keep your fourth line out there, send that center right back to the bench, put back out Walker or whoever you took out. Instead, I did not like what Montgomery did. I guess I'm guessing it was a bench decision. I don't know for sure, but it had to be. They said, Sonny, you're not taking this one. You've lost the last two. Nathan Walker, who you've taken, yes, you've won 2 of 4 in this game, but you're not a center. This is a high pressure situation where you're only down by 1, kind of late in the game, well, with about 9 minutes left. And he loses it cleanly. Rangers pressure, boom, puck goes in the net within 10 seconds later. I did not like that coaching call. I think that could have been avoided. And instead, I don't know what Montgomery's decision on that was about, whether it was just, I trust my guys to get the face off and get the puck out. I don't know. But at some point, you just have to say, hey, fourth line, this ain't working. We got to roll at least one of you out, and we need to win this face off. I didn't like that call. I thought that was an easy coaching decision to me, but instead, Blues go down 3-1 with 9 minutes left in the game.
And it kind of felt like, they panned to the bench on the camera shots, and you're kind of like, oh, it's going to be a deflator. And then they did, they were pressing and, being aggressive. It was a poor decision. I mean, first of all, like you said, you lose 2 faceoffs clean. I mean, clean as a whistle. And then you go out and then you lose a third one, with the same group out there, just with Walker on the draw. I do agree. It was not a good coaching decision. You should have put out, I would even took, Pius Suter out there. He's won some big draws for them. I would have put out anybody, other than what you had.
Yeah, and I'll say, Sonny, I don't mind him on the faceoff. Like I totally get why the second time he was like not making a change. But when he's lost 2 in a row clean, clearly he does not have it at that moment. Time to take him out or at least put him on the wing and let somebody else come in. I just thought that was a very poor coaching decision. I guess really the thing to say is lack of a coaching decision because nothing was changed. So yeah, that was not my favorite play of the game. But like I said, I like the Blues' battle in this game. They did come back hard. This wasn't a game where they went down 2-0 and then ended up losing the game. They did go down 3-1 and they kept fighting. And 15 seconds left, Braden Shen, a weird one, but that's what it takes, right? With these goalies, when they're playing so well, you can't just, expect the clean shots to beat them all the time. That's why they always say, put it on net, just put the puck on net. And that's what they did. I know we've said a lot of negative stuff here about Pavel Buchnevich, but that's what he did. He throws it on net, goes off Shen behind the goalie, all of a sudden 3-2 with 15 seconds left. And man, they had that one opportunity right in front of Dylan Holloway after that goal, and it just slid by him. He just missed it. What a crazy end that would have been if the Blues could have pulled that off and make it 3-3.
That would have been that definitely would have been crazy. Yeah, because I was watching the replay. I knew Robert Thomas. He's just like, yeah, man, right through his legs. But I will say an unpopular opinion because I'll probably get slack for it, but I don't really care because this is what I view on the ice, and this is what I've seen. Pavel Buchnevich has not been up to standards whatsoever, but Philly, last game, Islanders, and this game, I didn't have as much as a problem with Pavel in these 3 games. I thought that he's played it's not saying much because he hasn't been very good at all. He's played the best stretch of hockey that he's played since the beginning of the season. That's not saying much because, he's been kind of a ghost, but for me, I thought that line, the Pavel, Shin, and Dvorsky line was really noticeable in the Philly game. I thought that they were noticeable in the Islander game at some point. I thought all the lines were noticeable in the Islanders game. I thought that they played a good game against the Islanders. And then in this game, I don't think he was as noticeable, but he wasn't, I don't think, a nuisance like he has been in the games previous.
No, and you know what? I actually agree. I mean, first of all, score sheet, which is important. Obviously you wanna talk about the game within the game, but score sheet, he's got what, 2 assists in 2 games now. That's way more production than we've seen from him all season. So that's a start. It's building blocks. The minute these guys start to connect and start to understand and know what they need to do differently. Clearly, Bucci's doing something differently here. And I will say, and I said this a couple weeks ago, that his penalty kill, I think he's still a very good penalty killer. And I feel like he just needs to keep drawing on that, which is part of the reason why I want him to play third and fourth line minutes, because I feel like if you can play your strength, and to him, I think that is the penalty kill, maybe you can find that defensive game 5-on-5. And then all of a sudden you're like, you got the confidence of being this great third line player who can contribute and get the puck in deep and then go off the line change and get the Kyrou line out there or whatever. Um, it'll help you build and build and build. And then maybe he'll be back to where he was a couple games or a couple seasons ago. But I will say right now, yes, I'm excited that he's got 2 assists in 2 games, but it's got to come faster. Again, to make another Friends reference, there's a scene where Chandler is trying to get Joey to understand something, and Joey just is not getting it, and he's just sitting there thinking, and Chandler looks at him and goes, "Get there faster." And I'm like, that's what I'm like with Butch Davids. Like, get to being an $8 million player faster. We need you. So maybe we'll start to see that here in a little bit. But yeah, right now I'd still like to see him kind of cranking out third, fourth line minutes.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, it's not saying much because his production has been way down. 2 assists is nothing to write home about, but like you said, it's more than what we've gotten. I would like to see him find the back of the net more. He's just been he seemed to be snake bitten right now, and it's kind of a different snake bitten for me than it was like Kyrou. So like you remember when Kyrou was snake bitten, Kyrou was like getting a bunch of chances, getting a bunch of opportunities, and he just was snake bitten. The Pablo Buchnevich being snake bitten, it just seems like he's just non-existent on the ice, which is
Yep.
completely different than what Kyrou snake bitten meant in that moment.
That's true. That's true. So I want to go ahead and get into talking about some roster moves here, but I want to accompany that with this game because we did see one of these players in the lineup tonight. So the Blues did recall Logan Mailloux ahead of tonight's game against the Rangers, and they also reassigned Hunter Skinner to AHL Springfield. Mailloux did score 2 goals in 5 appearances with the Thunderbirds, during his assignment. Skinner only played that 1 game with the Blues against the Flyers on November 14th. The reason I say I want to roll this into this game, I said it earlier, I feel bad. I look at the stats now, and I guess I didn't realize it at the time. Logan Mailloux was a -2 tonight, but that's just so unfair because I thought he played very well. I was very impressed with his game, especially offensively. There was a shift in the first period where he was out there with, I believe it was the Shen line, and he was battling for pucks. He was cycling the puck in front of the net, couple really nice passes to try and get a scoring chance going. And I thought in that one shift, I was like, this is the guy. And I think Kerber even said it on the air. This is the guy the Blues traded for. Like, you could see the battle in him. You could see the know-how and the hockey IQ to pinch when he needs to pinch and to look and where he's passing and not just throw it blindly somewhere. Like, you could tell that time in Springfield reminded him, hey, when you've got space, take advantage. And I don't think he was doing that. I think he was kind of panicking a lot in his first stint up here. He looked so much better tonight. Not saying he was excellent defensively. We saw him make some plays, but overall, I was really encouraged by his game tonight. And it reminds me honestly, of Tyler Tucker, who, I don't remember his first stint up here. He was god awful. And then they sent him down. He came back and he wasn't great, but he wasn't bad. And it was like, oh, okay, I see why this guy could be like a 6th defenseman on any team in the NHL. And that's kind of what I'm seeing from Mailloux. Like, okay, not that you were fantastic tonight, but definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, for me, I saw a guy or a young kid trying to buy into the Blues system. What makes the Blues successful for their defensive standards? What makes the Blues successful when it comes to generating offense is their defensemen jumping up in the play. What I saw was Logan Mailloux jumping up in the play, trying to create something, when he needed to. He looked fast out there. I didn't notice anything glaring like any like crazy turnovers that he had. I think the one goal that he might have been on the ice for was the first goal. Uh, no, or yeah, it was the first goal where the Fowler's out there for 2 minutes. 20 seconds. So I mean, I think that's the one that I'm thinking of. I don't know if I got that wrong or not, but
I think that's right.
so one of those is like one where that line was on the ice for 2 minutes, and so they were really tired out there. I can't really hate that play too much, but I didn't see too many glaring issues with Logan Mailloux's game today, or
Nope.
tonight that I can really point out. And I you know I always find it funny because I always go and look at like Blues Twitter and see all the negative comments because there was a plethora of them. Like when the Rangers tied it up, like you should have just read the comment thread. It was just nothing but negativity the whole way down. Like, oh, Logan Mailloux, go figure. No heart out there. I even saw Robert Thomas is the worst player out. Like, I'm like,
Oh,
what are you like? What? I'm s- I generally like to know if I can just be in their mind and just look through their eyes for a minute and just see what they.
yeah. It's sports are very much a what have you done for me lately, right? Like it's like, you could literally watch a guy score, I'm sure there's people like Daryl Sittler back when he scored, what was it, 11 points, an NHL record in one game, or 9 points or whatever it was. I'm sure there were people 5 games later, and he's not putting up a point, and they're probably like, "Oh, this guy's terrible," and it's just no, he's just having an off night, or no, he's having a good night, but he just can't score. That just
Yeah.
happens, and Big Beaver right here. I love this comment. They want their cake now. Yeah, exactly.
There's no, like you said, instant gratification. Sports fans are very instant gratification. If you don't see something right off the bat, you're very negative. You're very oh, the end of the world kind of thing. But then again, when your team is playing well, you'll be the first people that'll be in the comment section. Oh, I knew this. I was with them all along. No, you weren't. You were just saying a game ago that they were terrible and that they're the worst team in the league. So,
Yep.
it's just fair weather stuff. It grinds my gears per se. That there's a Family Guy reference for
There it
you.
is.
Talking
There it
about.
is. You know what grind my gears? People from the 1800s. Come on, get with the times. Sorry, Family Guy reference for those of you out there who get that. So before we really get into and I just kind of want to talk about these very quickly. The other two games that happened since our last show, the 3-2 overtime loss in Philadelphia, and then the Blues actually defeating the Islanders to get a win on Saturday afternoon. A trend that I noticed, and I need to go back to more games, but I will say in these 3 games that we're talking about on this show, there is an interesting trend with the ice time leader defensively for the St. Louis Blues. Have you looked at that at all, Justin?
Uh, I don't think so. Not as much. I'm sure when you tell me, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, I kind of figured.
So this last game tonight, the game was against the Rangers. Justin Falk was your ice time leader at 24-11. Then it was Philip Broberg, which makes sense. That was his defensive partner. 21. I'm sorry. Actually, he wasn't, right?
No,
Falk was with
Falk.
Fowler.
No, I thought that I thought that they mixed it up. I thought that they put Falk with Tucker
They
and
did. They did. You're right. Falk and Tucker tonight.
AU. Yeah, it was Broberg and Parego because I love the pairing of Parego and Broberg.
I agree.
That's what I've been calling for. And like I said, I don't know how much slack I'll get for it. Broberg hasn't been on the score sheet a crazy amount, but I think Broberg's been probably our best consistent defenseman this year.
100%. And so Philip Broberg in this game was the second in ice time leader for defensemen, 21-21, and then Colton Parayko at 20-56. If you look back at the Islanders game, your ice time leader was Philip Broberg at 27-58. Colton Parayko, number 2, at 24-23. So more than a full 3 minutes more. And then in that Flyers game, which was last Thursday, Philip Broberg, your ice time leader, at 26:07. Colton Parayko, 25-26. So I know that it's a very small sample size, but looking at those numbers, they are playing Philip Broberg in more situations at more times than Colton Parayko. It has to make me wonder if they're starting to, and I know that word groom has taken on a whole other meaning, but if they're not starting to groom Philip Broberg as the new number one on this team.
I think we're heading in that direction. I really, really do. You're looking at a situation, and this should be a positive for any Blues fan that is looking at this. This is exactly what you wanted. If you're looking at Philip Broberg, this is exactly what you should have wanted. Colton Parayko, he's getting older. I think he's a great defenseman. Do I think that he's a number one defenseman on some teams? No, probably not. But Colton Parayko is a very good defenseman, but Broberg is showing you exactly why the Blues took a chance on him and doing the offer sheet.
So
So
it reminds me, yeah, sorry to interrupt, but it does remind me of back when the Maple Leafs signed way back when Dion Phaneuf was the number one defenseman, and they signed him to like a 6-year, like $7 million per year deal. And there was people outside of Toronto that were like, that was dumb. Oh, how can you pay that guy? He's not a number one defenseman. And I heard, I was actually listening to, I believe it was, Brian Hayes over in Toronto, his radio show. I was listening to that show when that happened. And I remember, I don't know if it was him. It might have been Jeff O'Neill or Jamie McLennan, friend of the show, people that come on his show. But I remember somebody saying, he may not be a number one defenseman by every team standards, but he is the number one defenseman in Toronto. And that's what you need him to be. And that kind of stood out to me because I thought, yeah, every team has their own idea of what a number one defenseman is. You know, if you look at the top defensemen in the league, Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, even like an Aaron Ekblad, yeah, they're all great. Don't get me wrong. But, if you put Cale Makar and Aaron Ekblad on the same team, Aaron Ekblad's not a number one defenseman anymore. It's Cale Makar, so it's to certain teams, your number one defenseman is a term that changes from team to team. So for me, and I'm not saying Philip Broberg's your number one right now, but when the Blues signed Colton Parayko to basically be their number one, even though he was kind of struggling at the time, now he's kind of come back to who he is. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense to me because Colton Parayko is the number one defenseman on the Blues. And I think within a year or two, that's going to be Philip Broberg. Again, Philip Broberg is not Cale Makar, but to the Blues, he's their best defenseman. So you're going to have to treat him as a number one defenseman.
Well, and I mean, and you look, like I said, you look at it. This is what you should want if you're a Blues fan. This is exactly why Doug Armstrong went out and did the offer sheet for Philip Broberg. He saw something in Philip Broberg that the Oilers did not. Clearly did not. I mean, he obviously wanted out of Edmonton, and that was partly to do with the fact of how they developed him. They kept sending him down, bringing him up, kept sending him down, and he was arguably their best defenseman in the finals for them.
Yep.
And then what did they do? They didn't try to make things right. They didn't try to make things with right with Holloway. They let both of those guys walk, and obviously Holloway has not shown the spurts of what we've seen from last season quite yet, but he still can be that player. Broberg is exactly what you're wanting him to be. You're wanting him to become a number one defenseman. Like you said, he's not a Cale Makar. I have a little bit of a hot take on Cale Makar. I think Cale Makar is great, but I also think that Cale Makar is not the best defensive defenseman. I think his game actually lacks on the defensive side. I think he's obviously an offensive guy, and it kind of goes to what you were saying about how every team has a difference of what they consider a number one defenseman.
Yep. Yep. That's true. Yep. All right. Well, let's quickly get into the other two games this week. So, first, last Thursday, the Blues lost 3-2 in overtime to the Philadelphia Flyers. Surprise, surprise! It was another 2-goal lead, and it was blown, accompanied with an overtime loss. Travis Sanheim scored with 109 remaining in overtime. It was the fourth straight loss for the Blues, who at that point were 0-1-3 in those 4 games. And this was the stat that bothered me. The Blues now are 0-6 in games that go past regulation. They had a lead in 5 of those games.
Mm-hmm.
That is disheartening when you look at it. Because, again, Blues had a 2-0 lead, and they lost this one 3-2. If that's one game out of 20, I'm not upset. The fact that they've had a lead in 5 games and they're 0-6 when they go to overtime and regulation, that's some bad sauce. There, like I said, I think this leads into what we're talking about earlier. There's like a mental block with this team, not being able to hold leads, not being able to battle back like in overtime or shootout. I think it's like a head hanging thing. It's like, we're going overtime. Oh boy, not a overtime. Let's go win this, and not saying that's exactly what they're saying on the bench, but in their heads, I think that is kind of where they're at. And I think that's something that, again, one overtime win, one shootout win, I think that really helps build the confidence. It just needs to happen.
Well, first of all, it should never got to that situation. You have a 2-goal lead. You need to hang on to it. The thing I will say, I will play devil's advocate here and be a little bit positive and put a positive spin on it. I'm a guy, I don't know how you feel. It's been a while since it's kind of simmered and, it's all in the dust now. But I thought that this was a game that the Blues didn't play bad in. I don't think they played a bad game in this game. It just was a case of a 2-goal lead that got erased. I don't really remember anything specific from that game where I'm like, oh well, this was a mistake. This was a mistake. It kind of just felt like it was a back and forth game where Philly just ended up tying it up, and then it. I feel like when they go into overtime, they have a shot. But shootout, and anytime I see the Blues game go to shootout, I'm like, okay, this is a loss. they they are they are absolutely abysmal in the shootout, and I don't understand why. I
Yeah.
really don't. This team in overtime, it's exciting. Me and Guy have tackled this a bunch on our show. I need to see 3-on-3 overtime get a rule change. Um, the 3-on-3 has become a keep away fest.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I don't like it. It's very boring. 3-on-3 overtime used to be very back and forth, very like, oh, who's gonna get the next chance, and it would just be a 50-50. And if you lost, it's like, oh man, at least I got to see a fun overtime. Now it's just, if you win the first face-off, all you gotta do is just circle back in your zone. What me and Guy have advocated for is they need to, if the puck is deliberately taken out of the zone and pushed back behind that red line, it should be a defensive zone faceoff in their zone. I don't know how they would implement that. Obviously, it'd have to, it would come down to a uh, picking of needles, whether it would be purposefully or not. But, it's pretty obvious when you see a team purposely go back because they do it all the time.
Yep.
Eh,
I'll real quick, Justin, I'll just say we've had this exact discussion on Let's Go Blues Radio. Everyone on this show, 100% agreement with you. That needs to be the rule change. I think that is all they need to do, and overtime will be way more exciting.
Exactly. The whole keep away. I just looked to my dad, because we've been to some games this year, and I'm just, we were to the Flyers game, and I'm like, man, I cannot stand overtime. It's just not fun anymore to me. It's
Yep.
just not. And I was also we were also advocating for, I would love to see overtime go to 10 minutes instead of 5 minutes.
Yep.
And have shootouts be a rare occasion, because shootouts I'm not particularly crazy about. I think they're cool. You get to showcase, individual skill, but it's a 50-50 thing. You get into a spot where you have a team who probably outplayed you the whole game, and then you have a team who didn't play very well, end up getting a win, just in a 50-50 shootout.
Justin, I think you and Guy have a show in an alternate universe that is basically Let's Go Blues Radio, because that we say that literally word for word. I have nothing to add because I know our listeners have heard this a million times. So yes, I'll just say yes. I agree.
I believe me, I watched the show. I just maybe wasn't there when this discussion. But it just it's something that if you're a fan of hockey, this should be the general consensus. I feel like not just Blues fans. This should just be a general consensus around the league.
Oh, I know teams that are fans of teams that like have basically are like Avalanche are just winners of overtime all the time. They're not this year, but usually. And they're just like, even when we win, it's cool, but it's like I don't enjoy overtime anymore. Like I enjoy the overtime goal, but I don't enjoy overtime. And I'm like, yeah,
Mm.
3-on-3 should be exciting. You should like be out of your seat excited. And it's just not that at all.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you guys agree because I guess I like I said I wasn't there for the memo for this conversation that you clearly. So, clearly,
Yep.
I'm glad we all agree here.
Yes, we do. I would guess a lot of people who really follow the game would agree with that sentiment because yeah, it's out of control. It's just like, oh, like what was that game recent? Was that the Seattle game where they
Mhm.
literally didn't touch the puck for like 3 minutes? And it's like this isn't even fun.
We didn't touch the puck the whole overtime. The whole
Yep.
overtime. All they did was win the faceoff, and then they would just circle out of the zone, circle out of
Yep.
the zone, and then literally, and that's the thing with the long change. You have this, and the game ends because you all you got to do is tire them out because you have a long change in overtime.
Yep.
So it makes it impossible to get changes because all you're going to do is circle and then just use your speed, and then it's over. Like,
Yep. All right, so let's move on in the next game. Again, this was a very nice win for the Blues. They finally hold a lead. They defeated the Islanders 2-1 on Saturday afternoon. Of course, this was during the Ponder Cup, so all of St. Louis's eyes were on the Ponder Cup, not the Blues' game. But whatever. They still played, so we got to talk about it. So Braden Shen and Pius Suter scored for the Blues. Shen ended an 11-game goal drought. Binnington makes 30 saves on 32 shots. They ended a 4-game skid. Anders Lee was the one that cut it to 2-1 with 16:40 with Ilya Sorokin pulled for the extra attacker. He buried a rebound from the top of the crease, and it looked like the Blues were going to blow another lead. Bo Horvat appeared to tie the game at 17:54, but the goal was waved off because Kyle Palmieri interfered with Jordan Binnington. And it's funny because you see a play like this and you instantly think, oh, that's not going to count. But then, like you said earlier, Justin, it's the NHL. They don't even know what goalie interference is. So it's like, is this going to count? So even though you feel like it shouldn't, there's a big part of you that's like, this goal's probably going to count. So when they called it off, I know there was a massive sigh of relief in all of St. Louis.
yeah, I'm sure there was. The thing with me is like you said, um, it's kind of like it's just a 50-50. The NHL doesn't know what is right and what is wrong most of the time when it comes to goalie interference. But the thing I had an issue with is, and I don't know if you drew more into this than I did. Probably not. You're probably you're more veteran than I am. But uh, um, I I found the whole play weird. So the Islanders, they score, they get they wave it off for goal interference, and then you get into the aftermath. You get into the Justin Falk, kind of goes down, kind of gets tripped, and then his stick hits Palmieri in the mouth, and then we get a 4 minute power play or penalty kill, and they get a 4 minute power play, and I'm just thinking to myself like, so Justin Falk goes down, he gets tripped, he loses his blade, and he smacks Palmieri in the mouth. I know you got to be in control of your stick at all times, but how is Justin Falk in control of his stick when he gets knocked down, like when he gets tripped, pretty much? Um, so I was like, man, the NHL, they're really wanting this 2-goal lead thing to continue, don't they? um,
Yeah.
but I was just like, wow, really? I didn't agree with it. I don't know what your thoughts on it were. But
Yeah, so that is one of those for me, because like obviously I've watched and played hockey my whole life, and high sticking is still a really weird one for me because as a player you are taught, I mean literally one of the first things you're taught, you have to always be in control of your stick. And I remember when I was a kid, I had a situation where I was going to the boards and I was coming in on this guy. And as I'm going in to get the puck, another guy comes from behind and lifts my stick. And my stick, it starts to fly out of my hand. And I literally like go and grab it with my left hand. And then as I do go to pull it back in, I nailed this other guy right in the face with my stick and blood all over, 4-minute penalty. There was talks of possible suspension because, it's kids. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I, the other dude knocked the stick out of my hand. I literally was pulling it back and it just happened to hit him in the face.
Yeah.
But the rule is you have to be in control of your stick at all times. So it's one of those really like, and I hate to use the term gray area because I feel like it should be black and white, with a lot of these rules. That one is a tough one because it is like, yeah, Falk, you need to be in control of your stick, but at the same time, how can you be in control of your stick when you're getting knocked down or you're getting pushed or whatever? So it's just one of those really bad gray areas. And I get, to me, with high sticking, and I hate to say this because I usually disagree with officials on some of the calls they make with high sticking. I think it is better to make the call than to not make the call because I think it does kind of not only show players in the NHL, but show kids watching. Yes, even though this happened, you still have to be in control of your stick. So I think it's just one of those unfortunate situations. Um, and nothing he could have done about it. It's an unfortunate call on Falk, but hey, at the end of the day, Jordan Binnington came up huge with a late save, and the Blues ended up pulling it out. It was a nice win, but yeah, it's one of those gray areas that it's like, ugh, like
Yeah.
what is Falk supposed to do there?
Yeah, well, because the way I thought about it is he gets tripped. So I know what you're saying. Yeah, you're taught, at a young age to, be in control of your stick. But my thing is he gets tripped, but he doesn't know this trip is coming. So like,
Yeah,
he is looking, front, and then I don't know who it was that skated behind him, Horvat, I guess.
yeah,
Horvat is, coming behind him. He clips his skates and then he goes down. Like, there's no way Justin Falk could have controlled his stick. I don't think in that situation. But like you said, I think it's a gray area. I think another thing that Guy was kind of talking to me about. Well, he was like, well, if it's goalie interference, it technically should be a penalty for goalie interference because it's goalie interference. Um, I don't know how you feel about that rule, like when a goal is like waved off for goalie interference, like how they did it in that game. Like if because goalie interference is a penalty, when you get just regular goaltender interference. So I don't know how you view that
that's
kind of
That's
situation.
a weird one too. I think I've said that before that now I think when it's like a guy steps into the crease and is, like the Jordan Eberle one against Seattle, that should have been goalie interference. Um,
Don't remind
that
me.
one I wouldn't have called a penalty on, but I feel like when a guy is literally like plowing into the goalie and the puck goes in and they review it and they're like, oh yeah, no goal interference, that should be goalie interference. Like, I think the onus should be on the referee to say, was this egregious enough to not only call back the goal, but should we also call a penalty? I
Mhm.
think that should be in play more. And I don't think that's a rule in the NHL, and I think it should be.
Oh God, you brought back PTSD with the Jordan. God, how did they not call that goalie interference?
Makes no sense.
The whole situation. First of all, the whole situation is bad on its own right. The way that they handled it, the way that the NHL handled it, the way that they explained the reasoning behind why they did what they did, it just made the NHL look really, really bad, real bad.
My wife made a good joke when that happened. I don't know if you remember those commercials, the Buffalo Wild Wings commercials, where like they're like all hanging out at the bar and the game's about to end. And then like they're like, "Oh, you guys want more drinks? All right, hang on." And then they like call the NFL and they're like, "Hey, make this game go longer." And then they're like, no field goal, overtime." See said that's what happened with that goal. She's like, somebody at Buffalo Wild Wings must have called the NHL and said, we're not ready for this game to end. You gotta let that goal happen as they go to overtime. Because that's the only explanation that makes sense.
I mean, and it's just so bad because I think the Blues played a good game in that one, and then they end up losing, you know, with a bad call and guys, we kind of went back and forth at it, kind of arguing with another and, in a respectful manner. And he's like, well, the Blues could have iced the game. And I'm like, I get that. I get that. But that's like the old way of thing. You can't why are you trying to justify this type of play in this situation? I mean, this was goalie interference. The game got costed for the Blues, which when they would have won the game, despite only winning by 1 goal, it still doesn't matter. Who cares if they won by 2 goals? They would have won by 1. Who cares?
Yep, I
So
agree. Big Beaver in the chat says, I think the GM and coaches conversation this year with the NHL is going to definitely have a lot more to say again. We need some transparency. Or more defined objective reasoning. I think it's more the latter. I think we need more defined objective reasoning. I love and not to go back because I know we harped on this for like an hour, the show that happened, but I know after that Seattle game, that was something that Jim Montgomery said was like, it checked all the boxes. Guy was in the crease, interfered with the goalie. Goalie couldn't make the save. Like, it checked every box. And somehow the goal still went in. And it's just like, it makes no sense. And so for me, it's like, like what Montgomery said, give me a checklist. If it meets 2 of these 4 criteria, then we're going to call the goal back because clearly that one did. So I don't know what the answer is, but to me, I feel like it is way too moment in time. We're going to decide if this is goalie interference. Like the goalie interference today could be different from the goalie interference tomorrow. Like that needs to stop.
It's actually funny that you bring that because you look at not even just Jim Montgomery's response to that. You look at Joe Hofer's response. I'm sure you remember this to a T. What is the first? Joe Hofer says, "I kid you not, a goalie, an NHL goalie goes, I thought he hit my stick. I don't really know brother. You know the rule. You want to say that yes, it was goalie interference. I see it on your face, but he cannot say it because he'll get fined for it. And that's one of the major issues is there's no accountability for the league or the officials. You can't hold them, player, coach. You can't hold the league accountable for anything because then you'll get fined for it.
Yep, I agree. I wanted to give I'm trying to find it right now because I wanted to go ahead and give a play or a comment of the show. And I'm trying to go way back to find it. Here we go. It was the one we talked about earlier. So here is our comment of the show.
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
This comes from our friend Big Beaver. He says, being a fan doesn't come with instant gratification. Agree 100%. So we will close on that, not close on that, but that will be our comment of the show. So good work, Mr. Big Beaver. Already said that one. And then all right. So we talked about all that already. So we'll move on. Next up for the Blues, they will play Wednesday at New Jersey at 6:00 to close up that road trip. Friday, November 28th. So Black Friday will be Ottawa, 3:00 start here in St. Louis. Saturday, November 29th. So back to back, but not really because they played in the afternoon the day before. They play Utah at 7:00 here in St. Louis. And to close up that 3-game homestand, they play Monday, December 1st against Anaheim at 7:00. And so we'll have a show before then, but the next game after that, Thursday, December 4th, they will be in Boston at 6:00. Justin Scott, obviously longtime listener of our show. Love having you in the YouTube chat. We finally got you onto the show to talk about some Blues hockey, and now you are also the co-host of the Blue Note Fan Report, which is awesome. Love seeing the growth that you've had as let's just call it the Blues podcasting world. So Justin, before we close up, I do want to give you a moment to tell our listeners how they can interact with you on social media, where they can find the Blue Note Fan Report, and anything else related to Blues hockey that has to do with you or Mr. Guy Bensing.
The Blue Note Fan Report, I actually started, a couple months ago with a guy. We had a couple shows, and he asked me to permanently be the co-host of the show, and I said, yeah, for sure. And I've always loved Blues hockey. I'm only 26. I'm just a spring chicken, as Jeff would say. But I really love talking Blues hockey. It's one of my favorite things to do. But as for the Blue Note Fan Report, we are on YouTube and Facebook at the Blue Note Fan Report. We also have a TikTok that is also the Blue Note Fan Report. So if you want to give us a follow, a like, and subscribe on there, I'd greatly appreciate it. I know Guy would. He's been carrying this brand of the Blue Note Fan Report for 7 years now. It just now hit 7 years a couple weeks ago. So he's been carrying this for a long time, and something that he's very proud of, and he loves the following that you guys have given us over there. And yeah, I appreciate you having me on, Jeff. This was a fun time. I hope I can join you again sometime.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And Guy is the best. I don't know if he's told you, but, we had him on. So we used to do way back, gosh, I'd say way back in the day. It was probably about 10 years ago, 12 years ago now. We used to actually have our listeners come on and join us live, which was awesome. Like, not just in the chat, but like come on the show, be like, hey, here's a link, join us. And so we used to have people come on at the end of the show, and we had Guy on once, and he's like, I just found you guys. This is great. And like, he was telling us, about how he's from or lives in Hawaii, from St. Louis, and gave us his backstory. And we were like, wow, so you're the Hawaii Blues fan. That's fantastic. And then he just kind of ran with it a little while later. Like, he asked us, like, how hard is it to start a podcast? And we were like, really not that hard. Like, there's some, as you know, Justin, there are some hoops you have to jump through. Like, sometimes your Apple podcast will just go down for no reason at all, and so you just have to fix it. And like YouTube, for me, like YouTube Music, since they got off Google Podcasts, they'll just set your show to private for no reason, and so you just have to go in and fix it. Like, weird stuff like that. So it's just a matter of checking things and always being on top of it. And so it's just kind of like, it's fun to see how much he's progressed in that time, and how he literally like just came on our show randomly one night and was like, oh, I could do this. It was so cool. And now to see that, like you said, I've been doing it 7 years now. 15 for us is insane. 7 years is a long time for any podcast. So that is really awesome to hear. And I hope you'll be a part of it for a while, because I know you're a knowledgeable Blues fan. You're passionate, and Guy is the same. So I'm sure you guys feed off each other's energy really well.
Yeah, he's I would say that he's more the old school type of mentality. I'm the newer school, so my takes are a little different than his, but we don't agree on everything, but for the most part, I think that he's uh I think we balance each other well. I think I'm the positivity that he was looking for.
Good. Yeah, he needed that. He definitely needed that.
But yeah, I definitely appreciate you getting me on. I'm always gonna be appreciative to, we're not here on that show, but I'm always appreciative of you guys for giving me a voice, and for let you get me on here, and let me have a voice on your show. Get my opinions out there. May not be may be controversial at times, but but
Hey, if it's not controversial, it's not good podcasting. That's the way I see it.
yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Justin. We appreciate you coming on. And again, check out Justin and Guy over at the Blue Note Fan Report. Stream often. They're on pretty much every social media platform, but definitely, like he said, TikTok, X. I believe you're on Facebook too, correct?
Yeah, YouTube, Facebook. We do have a Twitter or an X account. We have to kind of work on that a bit. And then we have a TikTok as well. So for any
Cool.
TikTok listeners.
Very cool. All right. Well, that will do it for this week's episode. Thanks to our incredible sponsor, strikewithmike.com. That'll wrap up episode 9 of season 15 of the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Thanks for listening, and thanks to those who participated in the YouTube and Facebook live chats during the live show. Make sure to follow us on socials at LGB Radio and like, follow, and subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. For Kurt Price and Bill Day, as well as our guest host, Justin Scott, tonight, I am Jeff Ponder, and this was Let's Go Blues Radio. Until next time, everyone, let's go Blues and happy Thanksgiving. Justin, give us the Let's Go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
Heck yeah.
TV talking St. Louis Blues hockey, moving fast, can't catch the beat. Skates on fire, ice on defeat. Kurt Jeffenbill